Welcome to the Learning Speaking English channel. Today, we will go on a journey together, a journey that will help you understand how to stay calm under pressure. This is not only a lesson about life, it's also a lesson about English, about words, and about emotions. So, take a deep breath, relax, and let the story begin. There was once a young man named Daniel. He lived an ordinary life, a small apartment, a busy job, and a few dreams that sometimes felt too big for his hands. He was kind, hardworking, and always wanted to do his best. But there was one thing he struggled with: pressure. Every time something went wrong, Daniel's heart would beat fast, his hands would shake, and his thoughts would rush like waves in a storm. He wanted to be calm, but calmness felt like a distant island, visible, but hard to reach. One morning, Daniel woke up early. It was an important day, the day of his company's annual presentation. He had prepared for weeks, memorizing every line, designing every slide, and imagining every question that could come his way. He looked at his reflection in the mirror and whispered, "You can do this." But even as he said those words, he could feel the pressure rising. He tried to eat breakfast but could hardly swallow a bite. He checked his presentation again and again, afraid that something might go wrong. When he finally left for work, his heart was already tired. As he reached the meeting room, people were already waiting. His manager smiled and said, "Daniel, you're up next." He nodded, smiled weakly, and connected his laptop to the projector. And just when he clicked on the first slide, the screen went black. The projector had stopped working. For a moment, everything inside him froze. He could hear the whispering of people around him, the ticking of the clock, and the loud sound of his own heartbeat. His mind screamed, "This is it. You're finished," but then, something changed. He remembered a voice from his past. His grandmother's voice. When he was a little boy, she used to tell him, "When life starts shouting, whisper back." So Daniel closed his eyes for a second, took a deep breath, and whispered softly to himself, "Stay calm." He opened his eyes, smiled gently, and said to everyone in the room, "Looks like my slides want to take a short break. But that's fine. Let me tell you the story without them." And with that, he began speaking. At first, his voice trembled a little. But as he continued, his words became smoother. He explained every idea with simple words, clear sentences, and quiet confidence. The room, which had been full of noise a moment ago, became silent, but this time, it was the silence of attention. When he finished, the manager said softly, "That was brilliant." Daniel smiled, not because he had impressed anyone, but because he had discovered something within himself, a new kind of strength. That evening, as he walked home, the air felt lighter. He sat near a small pond, watching the water ripple with the wind. He thought about what had happened that day. He realized that pressure wasn't something to fight, it was something to understand. He whispered again, "When life starts shouting, whisper back." Those words stayed with him. From that day on, Daniel decided to train his mind, just like people train their bodies. Every morning, he would spend 5 minutes in silence. He would close his eyes, breathe slowly, and repeat one line. "I am calm. I can handle this." At first, it felt strange. But slowly, he began to feel the difference. His thoughts became clearer, his reactions softer, and his energy more peaceful. One afternoon, while he was sitting at his desk, a colleague rushed to him and said, "Daniel, the client just called. They need the report in 1 hour." In the past, Daniel would have panicked. But now, he smiled and said, "Okay, let's do this step by step." He organized the data, made short notes, and worked steadily. When he sent the report, it was not only on time, it was perfect. His colleague looked at him and said, "How can you stay so calm under pressure?" Daniel smiled and said, "Because panic never helps. But peace always does." As days passed, Daniel began sharing his secret with others. Whenever someone said, "I'm so stressed," he would smile and say, close your eyes and breathe. He told them, calmness is not a gift. It's a skill. You can practice it, like a language. And that's true. Staying calm under pressure is like learning a new language, the language of the mind. At first, it feels impossible. But with time, your mind learns to listen differently, to speak differently, to feel differently. Let's pause for a moment here. If you are listening right now, take a deep breath. Inhale slowly, hold it for a second, and exhale. Feel your heartbeat slowing down. That's calmness beginning inside you. You can repeat these short English lines to help yourself whenever you feel tense. I am in control. This moment will pass. I choose calm. I can handle this situation. Say them softly. They work like gentle medicine for your thoughts. One night, Daniel sat near his window, looking at the stars. The sky was quiet, but his phone was full of messages and reminders. He smiled and turned it face down. He thought, why do we always run so fast? Why do we forget that silence also speaks? He realized that pressure is not only about work or deadlines. It also comes from our own expectations, from the little voice inside that says, you must do everything perfectly. You must never fail. But that voice is wrong. No one is perfect. Calmness begins when we stop trying to control everything. The next morning, Daniel went for a walk. He noticed how the world was moving, people walking, cars passing, birds flying. Everything was moving, yet nothing seemed to be in a hurry. He smiled and said softly, that's how I should be, moving, but not rushing. When he returned home, he wrote 3 things on a small paper and kept it on his desk. Breathe. Believe. Balance. He decided to live by those 3 words. Whenever pressure came, in meetings, arguments, or deadlines, he would look at that paper and breathe slowly. He began to enjoy his work more. His words became gentler. His English speaking also became smoother because he was no longer afraid to pause or think. Do you know why calmness improves your English? Because when your mind is calm, your words flow naturally. You don't overthink grammar, you simply speak from peace. A few months later, Daniel was asked to lead a workshop on stress management. At first, he smiled nervously. But then he thought, why not? This is what I've learned the hard way. On the day of the workshop, he stood in front of a large group of people. He looked around, some looked tired, some anxious, some curious. He began with a story, his own story. He told them about the broken projector, about his panic, and about the moment he learned to breathe. The audience listened quietly. Some even closed their eyes as he guided them through a short breathing exercise. He said, pressure is like a wave. You can't stop it, but you can learn to surf on it. People smiled. Some laughed softly. They understood. Because every person in that room had faced pressure in one form or another. At the end, one young woman raised her hand and said, Daniel, what if calmness doesn't come easily? What if I keep trying, but I still feel anxious? Daniel thought for a moment and said, then be kind to yourself. Calmness is not about never feeling pressure. It's about not letting pressure control you. Sometimes, the most peaceful thing you can say to yourself is, it's okay. When the session ended, people clapped. Many came forward to thank him. Daniel walked out with a peaceful heart. The sky outside was clear, the wind gentle. He smiled and thought, I didn't teach them calmness. I only reminded them that it was already inside them. Later that night, Daniel sat on his bed and wrote in his journal. Today, I learned that calmness is not the absence of storms. It is the ability to find peace in the middle of one. He closed the book and turned off the light. For the first time in years, he slept without overthinking. Days became weeks, and weeks became months. Daniel continued his journey of calm living. He learned that calmness grows when you speak kindly to yourself. Keep your body relaxed. And forgive quickly. He stopped competing with others and started focusing on small joys, a good song, a warm cup of tea, a quiet walk. He realized that calmness is not something you find outside. It's something you create inside. Sometimes, he would still face pressure, like everyone does. But instead of reacting, he would smile and whisper. "I've been here before. I know how to stay calm." And that whisper always worked. Now, as you are listening, remember this. You don't have to fight every battle loudly. Sometimes, the quietest person in the room is the strongest one. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, close your eyes and breathe. Say these words slowly. I choose calm. I can handle this. I am enough. Your words have power. The way you speak to yourself decides how strong you feel. If you speak with peace, peace will follow you. Calmness will also help you in learning English. When you are calm, you listen better. When you listen better, you understand more. When you understand more, your speaking becomes natural. So, the next time you feel nervous while speaking English, pause, smile, and remember Daniel's story. You don't have to be perfect. You only have to be present. Take one sentence at a time, one breath at a time. That's how fluency and confidence grow, not from rushing, but from relaxing. And now, as we come to the end of this story, take a deep breath again. Feel your heart calm down. Remember Daniel's 3 words: breathe, believe, balance. Keep them with you. Use them every time life feels heavy. Pressure will never disappear completely, but you can always choose how to face it. Stay calm, stay kind, and keep learning. Thank you for listening to the Learning Speaking English channel. If you liked this story, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps more people learn, grow, and find peace in their words and in their lives. Until next time. Stay peaceful, stay confident, and keep your calm heart shining.